Stagflation, a word coined nearly 50 years back, is once again being discussed fervently in boardrooms, government headquarters, and behind the walls of central banks globally. Indeed, internet searches for stagflation are at their highest. But will it occur? If so, how long for? How severe will it be? And how do you measure stagflation pressure?
To help answer these pivotal questions, we've built a stagflationary pressure index. Stagflation is not an acute event, it's a process. We've defined it as a period over which our stagflation pressure index hits 2.5 over 12 months. We built these indices for 45 economies.
The stagflationary pressure index score for an individual country is built by comparing its growth and inflation variables to its own history, not other countries.
Today, stagflationary pressures are more pronounced in developed markets than emerging markets like Asia. But if external factors like food prices remain elevated, emerging markets could catch up.
The US index is nearly at its 1970s peak, but pressures are likely to be much less persistent than they were half a century ago. We think US inflation is peaking right about now, but Europe's won't until Q3. In trying to understand persistence, we measured the time it would take for a country's pressure index to halve. Germany is at 20 months, while the US is close to 30 months compared to almost a decade in the 1970s.
We can't be certain, but we think there is a strong case to be made for today's stagflationary pressures being temporary.
Why? Product and factor pricing is much more flexible today, allowing the markets to clear quicker. As supply improves, excessive price rises in items like used cars and rents should moderate, allowing stagflation pressures to ease.
But there is no denying that inflation risks are skewed to the upside. Inflation is being driven by factors that are difficult to model.
Geopolitical risks have already and may continue to prove our base case wrong. The main stagflationary risk in Europe is the flow of energy from Russia being cut off. Germany is feeling these stagflationary pressures most acutely because of low volumes and higher prices of natural gas from Russia. But to what extent are these risks already priced in the market?
We've calculated the market implied probability of a stagflationary event for each country.
Today, the S&P implies just about an 11% probability of stagflation in the US. Now compare that with a near 100% probability being priced just ahead of the oil shocks of the 1970s. Chinese equities imply nearly the same probability as the S&P 500, but this is driven by weak growth, not by high inflation. FTSE 250 implies 14%. Eurostoxx, meanwhile, are priced for 30% probability of stagflation, the most bearish pricing across all regions. To conclude, markets are pricing in a much higher probability of stagflation in Europe compared to US, UK, or China.